It's time for the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
So still no speaker, and again, I'm still pulling for Donald Trump. I'll be honest. I'm still hoping that they pull the Trump out of the bag and make Trump, even if it's just for 90 days. And I hope Marjorie Three Names gets her wish, that it's a MAGA rally every day, because I think the American people need to see this on display. I think it'd be good for the country. I think it would be cathartic. I think it would make us. I hope it would scare the hell out of people and make us go, hey, this is not good. This is bad. But we're going to get stuck with the second tier, either Jim Jordan or Steve Scalise, or maybe someone who hasn't appeared just yet here to help us work through who may be speaker, if we ever get one, if there is someone who actually wants it. So I've asked our good friend, former Illinois Congressman Joe Walsh, to come share some thoughts with us. He is also the host of the White Flag with Joe Walsh podcast, one of the great podcasts out there. Joe, thanks for taking time for us.
Rick, I love being on your radio show.
As you should, because the reality is...
By the way, even though you piss me off sometimes, but go ahead.
Well, better off than on. So here's the thing. And then, look, you have very few places where people who disagree have a civil, reasonable, actual conversation. Are we going to get a speaker? Is this going to happen? Will eventually there be someone dumb enough to go, yeah, I want it?
Yeah, because there has to be. I don't think we'll get one right away. I don't think we'll get one in the next couple days. Look, Rick, my former political party, really last week, my former political party screamed to the American people that they are incapable of governing. Please put the Democrats in control of the House. I think that's what they did. Yep. And I think last week gave the Democrats control of the House. I don't think it matters who the next speaker is.
No. And I think this week they're just hammering those nails in the coffin, because look, you've got what's going on over in Israel. The president said, "Hey, we need to send money over there." There's no money to be sent because Congress has got to. Has got to be the one that the House is where this spending has to emanate from, and without a functional House, I don't know how we're getting it over there.
That's right. Nothing can happen when it comes to money out of Congress without the House. And the House can't do anything, Rick, until or unless they have a speaker. I don't think Republicans want to show an ugly public fight this week. I've been told by some of my former colleagues that they have to bang this out in private. And when they take it to the floor, they'll take it knowing that somebody has the votes. Because they don't want to go through, Rick, what they went through in this past January with McCarthy.
Yeah, and whoever eventually gets it has to get rid of that rule that one person can oust them.
I disagree. And you know what? And I think a lot, I know you know this, I bet a lot of your listeners don't. That rule has been in place since our founding for most of our history. Nancy Pelosi, who I like, changed it, but it's the people's house. And I think any member of Congress should have a right to make that motion, and then the House should vote. That's not the problem. To me, the problem is, I got to watch my language. To me, the problem is a jackass like Matt Gaetz, who puts his own interest ahead of the interest of the House.
Yeah, so good. You watched your language and you swore anyway.
I watched my language. I watched it very carefully.
Right as it shot out your mouth. But okay, I can understand that. But at the end of the day, if you're a speaker, you got to have some. If you're going to put yourself through all this, you got to have some assertion that that you're going to be able to finish the tenure, and at the end of it, you're going to be able to. Then you can throw the bum out. You're not going to have to be looking over your shoulder after every single decision you make throughout the term, though. No.
Well, but that's what's interesting, Rick. Remember that rule's been with us for most of our country's history. The one member can move. And I think a lot of people don't realize that even though the majority picks the speaker is the speaker of the whole house.
Right.
So a Democrat could have moved on a vote to vacate Kevin McCarthy. But that aside, I think the Republicans privately are going to struggle. I don't think right now Jim Jordan or Steve Scalise, who I served with, I don't think either of them are close to getting the votes now. And if they can't over the next day or two, I think you'll see maybe a consensus candidate.
Yeah. So who's that going to be? Because I don't think either one of them are going to be. And look, I've had conversations recently with some folks who no, it's going to be Scalise, or it's going to be Jordan. It's going to be one of them. And I'm going, I don't know. I think they're too extreme. I think they got too much baggage. I mean, Scalise, this whole idea, and I don't even know what this means. The statement that's been attributed to him is he's David Duke without the baggage. I don't know what that means. Does it mean he's racist? I don't know, but he doesn't, have the hood. I'm not sure, but that's attributed to him. And then all the Jim Jordan stuff with the stuff at Ohio State. I don't know why you'd even put yourself in the run with this, knowing that stuff's hanging over you.
Remember, Rick, and you said something interesting. You said both Jordan and Scalise are too extreme. How? In this party, they are the party. Like, we forget that this is a MAGA party. And as far as the Republican Party, ever since Donald Trump, no personal baggage or scandals matter. Not for these Republican voters. I think they're too closely aligned that they're both going to get a bunch of votes, but not close. And so, again, I don't think Republicans want to carry this beyond this week because they look horrible. So I can then see them grabbing somebody else because, Rick, I don't think Matt Gaetz and the other 7 care who the next speaker is. They just wanted McCarthy's scalp.
Yeah, they just most certainly wanted that head on the wall. So any thoughts on who that consensus candidate could be? I've had people go, no, it's going to be Hakeem Jeffries. I'm going, it's never going to be Hakeem Jeffries. Yeah. That is never going to happen. Stop with the fantasy.
I think that if Scalise and Jordan don't come close and can't get there, I could see the House rallying around Patrick McHenry, who's the interim speaker right now. I think he's third in leadership. Or keep your eyes on an old guy who's been there forever, Tom Cole out of Oklahoma. He's just a good old boy, a good, simple, moderate. Whoever's going to be speaker, Rick, is going to be a caretaker. It doesn't matter who the speaker is because the next year is going to be continued chaos, dysfunction, and incompetence, no matter who the speaker is.
Yeah, but we've got, I don't know if you've checked your calendar, but we got about 30 days. Mm-hmm. About 30 days until the next debt crisis, puts the world on notice that we may default on some stuff. We may shut down the government. Who knows what we're going to do next? But we got about 30 days before Thanksgiving, and who knows if they kick it before Christmas or who knows. Should have some functional leadership, don't you think?
Yes, but Rick, the party is dysfunctional. Donald Trump is the leader of the party. He's going to be the nominee. You almost could make an argument that it's no longer a political party. When it comes to the shutdown in 30 days, both Jordan and Scalise said today to their Republican colleagues, they're going to push another continuing resolution no matter what. So we're going to continue to do that, just live by continuing resolution. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. I'm more concerned about like Israel, getting money and stuff to Israel right now.
Right.
And we can't do that without a speaker.
So, if we can't get any money to Israel, what does Biden do? And is it, I guess, let me ask you this. Is this Biden's fault? Is it all Biden's fault? I saw Fox News say that it was Biden's fault since, what was the quote? Couldn't get, what was this? Hold on, I'll find it. It couldn't get, what's going on in this attack on Israel is Biden's fault for not getting his people confirmed. This is what for a
Yeah.
lack. It's Biden's fault for the lack of Senate confirmed elected officials was the exact quote. Which is, I love Fox News. Love me some Fox News. Is it Biden's fault?
Not at all. Look, Rick, I am off the charts pro-Israel. When I was in Congress, I was the most pro-Israel member of Congress. Joe Biden has always been a good, loyal friend of Israel's. Man, Rick, I bet you heard his speech today.
I did.
That was one of the clearest, strongest expressions of support for Israel I've ever seen from an American president. I don't think Biden has been strong enough with Iran, but no, this isn't Biden's fault. This is Iran's fault. This is Russia's fault. This is Hamas's fault.
So, in moving forward, because, I saw Tim Scott's statement that, this is all Joe Biden's fault because, evidently we're weak.
No, Rick, it was even worse.
Hold on. I'm getting to it. He says that we need to return to strength.
No, I thought he said, yeah, Hamas did it, but Joe Biden has blood on his hands.
That was yesterday.
My God, what a despicable thing to say. You know what, Rick? I'm always blown away by all my former colleagues who sold their soul to Trump. I always thought, I never thought Tim Scott would. I went to Congress with him. I thought he was a decent guy. He sold his soul to Trump. That is one of the ugliest things I've ever heard a member of Congress say. Joe Biden has blood on his hands? That's just despicable.
But where I was getting to is it sounds like a lot of our friends in the Republican Party are echoing, you're echoing what we hear from the legislature in Iran, from Vladimir Putin. It sounds like, I started today off by going, the people who hate America are attacking us again, and our Republican friends are doing it.
Isn't that funny? You're young. I'm an old fart, but you're young. But I know you've read about back in the day when the left was the blame America folk, right? I think Gene Kirkpatrick in the Reagan administration went after the left for always blaming America. You're right, Rick. Right now, it's my former party. It's the right that blames America for Russia invading Ukraine. And they're doing the same thing here. They blame America at every chance they can. This Tucker Carlson, J.D. Vance out of Ohio, some of the crap, I caught my language, I watched it, some of the crap J.D. Vance has been saying, blaming us for everything. What an ugly aspect of the right.
Yeah. No, and this is the thing that gets me. And they're throwing all this stuff out without any attempt to have a solution or a way forward. It's all attack. And look, how do we solve this problem? This has been going on my entire lifetime.
Since Israel's founding, Rick, Israel has been surrounded by neighbors who do not believe Israel has a right to exist. Period.
Right.
Could you imagine, Rick Smith, living in a neighborhood? I don't know what your neighborhood's like. You probably have a big fancy house and you live in a neighborhood with a bunch of other big fancy houses. Imagine every one of your neighbors didn't believe you had a right to live. And in fact, they wrote up constitutions in their houses pledging to destroy you. That's what Israel's lived with for 75 years. You're never going to have peace with that. The only way you get peace in the Middle East is if you eradicate, get rid of the people who want to get rid of Israel. That means, Rick, Israel has to go into Gaza and wipe Hamas off the face of the earth. Period. And by the way, that's the best thing for the Palestinian people. Yeah, you're not buying any of what I just said. I can tell by the look on your face.
No, I understand it. I'm trying to see. Here's where I'm at, and I'll be quite frank. And I said this yesterday. I don't know enough about the situation to say what you've said. I understand that if you've got a situation where two parties can't get along, one of them's got to go. I get that. How much of Hamas is the Palestinian people? How much of this is intertwined? How much of it is, I don't know. I mean, you're the person who's the expert on this. Tell me, what don't we know?
Well, remember, Hamas is a terrorist organization, and they happen to be the ruling government of Gaza. They're also extremely popular with Palestinians in the West Bank. But they're terrorists, and they haven't had an election since 2006. Maybe about half of the Palestinian people in Gaza support them, but the other half, they can't do anything. And part of the problem, Rick, is all of the other Arab countries use the Palestinians as a proxy to try to make life miserable for Israel. And we were just at a point where Trump started it and Biden's continued it, where some of the more moderate Arab countries were normalizing relationships with Israel. Iran wanted to stop that, which is why they had Hamas do what they did 3 days ago.
Okay, because look, as I'm being told, Gaza, the unemployment rate in the Gaza area is like 90% for 18.
It's gross. It's a mess,
and it's a mess on all sides. So you're saying go after Hamas, which I'm all for. Go after terrorists, absolutely. If you're the problem, you go. I get that. But what do you do with all of the
then what?
What do you do with all of the people who are desperate? When you have desperation and you have desperate conditions, desperate people do desperate things.
Right. So here's what should be done. Remember, in 2005, Israel gave Gaza back. Israel left Gaza and said, all right, Palestinians, it's yours. You run it. And then they picked Hamas, and away we go. Israel's going to have to take Gaza back. And that's, by the way, what's going to happen. This is going to be ugly. They're going to take Hamas back, and then you know what? They should turn to Egypt and Jordan and say, you take all these Palestinian people. And Israel, Rick, should then say, we're going to make Gaza part of Israel because, by the way, Rick, the Muslims and the Arabs who live in Israel right now are freer, happier, and more prosperous than Muslims and Arabs who live in any of their neighboring countries, because they're freer in Israel. Israel's not perfect, but it's a democracy. So the Palestinians would be better off if Gaza was part of Israel. Man, look at you and I going down this road.
Yeah, no, I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm absorbing it.
But that's a minority view. My view is a minority view.
Yeah, no, I'm absorbing it. I'm not on board. But I'm absorbing, and I'm going to think about this because
we'll continue this.
No, because look, at some point there's got to be a way forward in this, because it seems like this keeps happening, every so often, where an attack happens and then Israel responds overwhelmingly, which is going to happen. You're going to see massive death and destruction, and it's always the poor and the working class who suffer in all of this stuff. It's always the most desperate, the most at the margin people who struggle in this, and the people who are at the top who make the decisions, they walk away from it. It's like, that's where my frustration is.
I get it, and I hear it. Yeah. And I would just add one more thing. Hamas, the ruling government of all those poor people, has purposely, over the last 18 years, made their people miserable. They've taken all the money and used it for their terror activities, all the money that would have gone to jobs and hospitals and schools. Hamas is responsible for the conditions in Gaza. They need to be eliminated.
Yeah. So last question on this I got for you. What do we do with this?
Well, Israel's our greatest ally on the planet. And by the way, Rick, I think Biden said today 14 known Americans have been killed, and at least 10 Americans are being held hostage right now. Can you imagine a situation in a couple days where Hamas is parading American hostages through the streets of Gaza? This is our war too. Period.
Well, we'll see. Joe, as always, I appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Hey, Rick, I watched my language. I love you.
I love the fact that you did. Thanks so much, Joe. Our good friend Joe Walsh. Thanks so much. Let's take a quick break. Back with your thoughts after this. Stick around. You're listening to the Rick Smith Show. We're working people. Come to talk.
From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to the auto factories of Michigan to the modern makers movement, manufacturing makes our nation great. I'm Scott Paul, president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We bring business and labor together to advocate for policies that everyone can agree on. Together, we can strengthen manufacturing and create good-paying American jobs. Help us keep it made in America.
We are AFGE, the American Federation of Government Employees. We represent 700,000 federal and D.C. government workers who are the vital threads of the fabric of American life. We support our nation's military. We take care of our nation's veterans. We protect our nation's borders. We respond to our nation's crises and natural disasters. We provide services to our nation's seniors. The American Federation of Government Employees. We work for America.
The old factory towns in America's heartland have been taking a beating. Thing is, though, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Unions are making a comeback. More organizing in the last couple of years than in a long time. And the Biden administration being more supportive of unions than any president since FDR. We're finally turning things around after 40 years of screwing over working people. But will we keep moving in the right direction? That's our choice as Americans.
It doesn't matter what kind of weather. It doesn't matter what time of day or night. When Mother Nature's done her worst, the only thing that matters to us is keeping the lights on for you. The hardworking women and men of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, dedicated to keeping the power on in communities all across the country. Because when bad weather strikes, we know what matters most. IBEW, the power professionals.
Go to the phone lines. Got John in Los Angeles on line one. John, what's on your mind? How are you?
Hey, Rick. How are you? I'm okay. Yeah, like you. It sounds like you're friends with this Joe. What is his name? Walsh.
Yeah, Joe Walsh.
Yeah. A few years back, I had a friend. She's since died, I believe. But she was Jewish, and when we had a discussion, she had no concept that the one kibbutz that she had lived in for a while back was built on a town that was a Palestinian town, and it sounds like this guy has no concept of how Israel was formed. It was just plopped down on top of a bunch of people, and they were squeezed out, forced out, pissed on, and pushed over. Now, they act as if everything started up with manifest destiny, like this country. But it didn't. It wasn't free. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't clean. This Israel. And then people wonder why the neighbors are angry. All the neighbors used to be the indigenous, who were squashed on and spat on and kicked over like bovine excrement. What do you expect? What does he expect?
Yeah,
Too much. That's what I think.
No, I appreciate it, John. I appreciate the thoughts.
You have a nice day, Rick.
Thanks so much. No, I look, as I said from the beginning, there's a history here that goes well back before I was born, and there doesn't seem to be a pathway forward, and people are dug in on their sides, and again, nobody's talking about solutions on how we fix this. And what I do know is every time there's one of these attacks, the response is overwhelming. The pain and the suffering is overwhelming, and then we dig in even deeper until the next time and the next time. I don't know the way forward, and I'm not pretending that I do. My point is it looks like, here at home, again, this is another moment for our Republican Party to join in with the people who hate this country to attack us even more. But I appreciate the thoughts. Want to hear your thought? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Quick break, right back.
I've been driving buses for 5 years, and my day-to-day routine is I wake up a little earlier than most people. I get on a bus, I go out, I pick up some students and make sure they get to school nice and safe. Here in Fairbanks, Alaska, that can be a challenge because of the winter weather and the icy roads. But I love the job. So the Teamsters are great. They provide us a lot of protections. They've always taken care of their people, made sure that our jobs were secure. We didn't have to worry about whether or not we'd have a job from day to day.
And that's amazing because before we'd be working 4, 6, 8 hours a day and only earning minimum wage was real difficult to make a living. Then the Teamsters pushed a law so we make something we can live off of and not have to have a second job. What absolutely gives me peace of mind, the union membership allows me to focus on this job without having to worry about whether or not my family is going to be taken care of. I'm Andrew Case, and I'm proud to be Teamsters Local 959.
Before we close the program, we want to take a moment to thank our viewers and to share a little bit about why we do what we do. At The Rick Smith Show, we believe that media today is almost entirely controlled by corporate greed. So we have now 24-hour news channels. But instead of 24 hours of news, what we get is 1 hour repeated 24 times, and with tons of commercials creating obscene amounts of profits. Information once presented as a public service has now become a private commodity. So when lies make money, lies are what we get. We get a corporate-controlled rage machine feeding us anger and hate, trying to convince us that our problems are right, left, or red, blue, when they are and always have been up, down, the wealthiest 1% versus the rest of us. Our goal is to be an alternative to that machine, not as a news show with a fancy journalist out front, but as a talk show run by a union truck driver and a team of working-class heroes just like you. Everything we do, both what we get right and what we get wrong, is dedicated to advancing the interests of America's working families. No corporate ad buys, no think tanks, no focus groups, no talking points. We are media by working people for working people. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here next time.